everybody, it's Dr. Joe and Sleepy Remy. Today I'm going to show you general stretches and exercises for the foot and the ankle. And this is my 8th video in my 10-day whole body wellness challenge. And if you want to find out more about it, stick around to the end. So let's get started. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. So before we get started with the ankle foot routine, you are going to need some equipment. So you're just going to need a stretch strap, a belt, or a dog leash to do some stretching in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started with the warm-up, and I'll tell you a little bit more as we go about everything. So it's going to be a 2-minute warm-up. So let's just start off with something as simple as just some ankle pumps. So I'm going to do some on one side and then I'll switch after maybe 5 or so, because this is just a warm up. This is just kind of get that foot and ankle moving a little bit. So after the 2-minute warm up, when we go into the stretches and exercises, we're going to do it for time instead of repetitions. So that helps you just go at your own pace. So you don't have to worry about, I have to get 10 in. You just do as many as you can in that time. So it'll be 30-second blocks, and then in between each one of those there'll be a short break, and then in between each like group of stretches and exercises there'll be a long break. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how we're going to go through everything. Then you can do some circles, some ankle circles, do a couple counterclockwise, then clockwise. You might be able to hear my ankles pop a little bit. I have definitely had some ankle sprains in my soccer and basketball career, so you might hear a lot of popping and clicking as we go along with mine. Nothing painful, just, you know, a little bit of stability issues in there. So I have to work on these types of things a lot to get those going. So again, look clockwise, counterclockwise on each side. And then a fun one I like is just the alphabet. So you can do capital, you can do lowercase, you can do cursive if you know how to do some cursive. And then this is really, again, just kind of getting everything warmed up. You don't have to necessarily hold these for stretches. You're just trying to get some movement in there. And again, just kind of getting that rolling. If you want to spell something out, like Joe is awesome, you can do that. Or you are awesome. Y'all out there are awesome as well. So anything you want to do in there, just kind of getting those ankles warmed up a little bit. So the first set of stuff we're going to go into is isometric exercises. And so isometric exercises are when you're activating the muscle, but you're not really doing any movements that it might be painful. So you're going to need something. I just use my foot, so I don't have to have extra equipment to push into or pull into. So the first one's going to be dorsiflexion, which is coming up this way, that motion. So I'm just going to put my other foot in front of it and push into that foot, or pull up into that foot. So again, this is the motion I'm doing. I'm just using my other foot to stop it. So I'm doing about a 3 to 5 second hold, and then I'm pushing about 30 to 40% of as much as I think I can. I know if you've been following along with the challenge and doing the different whole body routines every day, you know what I'm talking about. You've heard me say the 3 to 5 seconds, 30 to 40%. But it's really important not to do your full amount if you're doing these for the first time, to really kind of gradually build up. So we'll alternate feet so we can give the other side a break. So now I'm blocking this one. That's the motion I'm doing, and I'm pushing into my other foot to get that. And that's just activating on this side that anterior tibialis muscle and those other dorsiflexors, just pulling into that. So you're going to feel it kind of in the shin area. And again, you can do these like against underneath a table or something if it's sturdy enough. Some people will use like a ball to kind of pull into or push into. But I found that just, again, using your other foot, as long as it's comfortable to push over, is just as easy, because then you don't have to grab any equipment for these. You can just do them. So again, I'm just kind of pulling up that motion into my other foot that's just stopping that motion. Again, this is the muscle right here that's being worked, and I can really feel that muscle working. And sometimes if you feel like you're not getting your foot pulled up enough when you're walking, or like if you trip over your toes a lot, sometimes it's weakness in that muscle right there. So this is a great way just to get them started and get those muscles activating. But maybe if you don't have that full movement, or that full movement is painful, the isometric exercises are a great way to do it. Now, if you've done this routine a time or two, or you just want to follow along and you think I'm talking too much, you can just put the mute button on and play your own music. But I want to give you as much detail as I can and variety as I can, because what works for you might not work for somebody else. So sometimes you do have to modify things or change things slightly to really get it the best workout for you. So again, that 3 to 5 second, just really kind of pulling up. My knee is slightly bent, but that's just I'm on a little softer surface. Ideally, you want your leg to be as straight as you can. So then the next one is just going to be changing direction. So we're going to go into plantar flexion now, pointing our toes. So same thing. Now I'm just going to block it with my other foot and push down into it. So, you know, if this is too hard to move your foot over, you can do this against a wall and push into the wall. But again, at least here I can do this anywhere without having to scoot next to a wall, but that you can if you want to. So again, I'm pushing down like I'm pushing on a pedal, and I'm just using that other foot to block that movement. So now I'm activating those calf muscles underneath. And again, I'm not pushing as hard as I can, especially the first couple times I do them, because they might not feel like a lot while you're doing them, but sometimes if you haven't done these before, you're going to feel a lot more later. So that's why I always say kind of that 30 to 40%, especially when there's smaller muscles underneath. If you're just pushing a little bit, you're actually going to activate those smaller stabilizer muscles versus those bigger, larger muscle groups like the calf muscles as well. So you're going to get those stabilizer muscles that really help, especially with the foot and ankle, for that stability. So again, I'm pushing down that way. That's the motion I'm doing, but that other foot is just blocking me from doing it. And again, you know, you see my knee is a little bit bent, which is okay, but you just don't want it bent all the way up. And then going back to the other side. And depending on how much movement you have in your ankle, you can just roll it over this way. I like doing that, or you can scoot it pretty close and push in. And a lot of times, if you have had sprains in your ankle in the past, there is some of that loss of stability in there. So these isometric exercises are sometimes a great way to begin after like a sprain or something in your ankle, or even if it was something that happened a long time ago and you're just kind of getting back into things because you want to start building up that strength again. These isometric exercises are great for that. And sometimes, you know, if they're really unstable in there, if you're pushing with these isometric exercises around any joint, you might hear or feel a pop. As long as it's not a painful pop, sometimes that's just the fluid moving in the joint. Sometimes it is actually adjusting a little bit. People like to argue which one it is, but it can be both sometimes. So as long as the pop is not painful, it's okay. So next we're going to go into eversion, which is going outward this way. So with that eversion, what I would do is I just cross my other foot over to block pushing out. So I'm working this one, blocking with my other one, and this is the motion I'm doing just at my ankle. So I'm not trying to move my whole leg into it, but I'm just kind of pushing that 3 to 5 seconds going outwards. And that might be a little hard to see at that angle, but again, this is the motion I'm doing, and then I'm just blocking with my other foot. So this would be another one if you feel like this is a little uncomfortable crossing over. If you can slide next to a wall, you can just push out into that wall. So that makes it easy to do if you're close to a wall, or you know, even against the couch. If I was doing the other side, I could just push into the couch if I wanted to. But I feel like I get a little bit better push with my foot personally, kind of pushing out that way. And so again, that is the motion without the toes flaring up like mine like to do, but pushing outwards that way. Just at the ankle. It's not the whole leg. It's just, I'm trying to bend that foot outwards, getting that push into the other foot. Or you can always have somebody sit there and hold it for you and then push into their hand if you wanted to. But then that would also require someone really nice to help you out. So sometimes that's an option, sometimes it's not. Again, pushing that 3 to 5 seconds. If it's really painful or really uncomfortable at that 30 to 40%, make sure take it down a little bit. You know, even if you just feel like you're pushing 20 to 30%, you want it to be maybe a little uncomfortable but tolerable. It never should be sharp pain while you're doing it. So this next one on this side, I'm going to try pushing into the back of the couch so you can kind of see with that one. If you wanted to push it into something, I'm just pushing in that way. So again, that's the motion I'm doing, but it's blocking that big movement, and I'm just pushing that same amount, that 3 to 5, in towards the couch there. And you'll see it has a little give, so sometimes that might feel a little bit better, and sometimes you might want something like your foot that's a little firmer so you're not having quite as much give to it while you're pushing. So as you can imagine, then the next one is just going to be inversion, and so inversion is going in that way. So now I'm going to be turning in this way and just stopping my foot on this side. In a world where you want to go fast, you could ideally just push them together at the same time. But I like to go one at a time, so I'm just doing my left one first, pushing into it, because sometimes you might have a weaker side. And so if you're just pushing them in together, sometimes when you're doing a motion together, you can't regulate how hard you're pushing with one versus the other. So it might just be a little bit harder, but if you're just doing this for general wellness and you think that, you know, you could do them both equally at the same time, I could push in with my right and my left at the same time, getting that inversion for both. But for now, I'm just going to do one on each side because I do have a weaker ankle that has been sprained several times over the years. So now I'm going inwards this way, just kind of pushing in to my foot there. So you can see with this, you're really kind of getting an exercise on both sides, even though you're maybe pushing in with one, you're kind of holding it and stabilizing it with the other. So you're really getting a little bit of a workout with both when you're working, when you're using the other side to kind of block it as well. But again, I'm not just pulling my whole leg in. The movement should be just at the ankle and the foot. That's what we're trying to get, because if you move the whole leg, you're working different muscles and you're not working those muscles and those inverters that you're trying to get there. So really try and get that movement just at that ankle when you're pushing. Again, you're not going to see the movement, but that, if you were imagining doing that, that's where you would want the movement to be, just kind of pushing in that way and then relaxing. And if this position, this long position, is uncomfortable for you, you can do it sitting. This is just going to probably give you a little bit more movement at the ankles, but you can do it sitting. Your knees will be a little bit bent at that time, but that's okay. If this is a little bit uncomfortable for you, you can certainly do it in a seated position as well, or lie all the way down. I'm just kind of sitting up so I can talk to you, but if you know, make sure your whole body's comfortable. Don't get your back sore because you're trying to sit up like me. Definitely lie all the way down if you want to, because you can still do this movement lying all the way down. So then the next one is going to be a calf stretch with the strap. So this is going to go ahead and get your stretch strap or your dog leash if you've got a dog leash, or just a belt. But again, it's something solid. Put it around, almost around the ball of your foot there. And this time, to stretch those calves, you're pulling your foot towards you, but you're not actively moving your foot. You're letting the strap pull those toes towards you. And you can see my heels coming up off of the couch just a little bit. That's fine. As long as I'm not actively doing it, I want to be pulling with the strap. And this is a full 30-second hold for this. So you really want to get in a position that's a little bit uncomfortable, but where you feel like you can hold it for that full 30 seconds. Then I'm just going to switch it over to the other side. You don't have to. If you want to do them both on one side, you can. I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see it. And then again, just kind of pulling. My heel might come up a little bit and just getting that nice stretch in there. Try and relax that foot, and you should feel that stretch in your calf area. You might even feel it behind your knee because that calf muscle not only goes down and goes into your Achilles tendon to your foot, but it also comes up and crosses that knee. So sometimes people might feel this more behind their knee, even though it's also stretching your foot and your ankle as well. And again, these stretches should be, I always say, hurt so good. Stretching is usually never fun, but when you're doing it, you're like, oh yeah, I can feel like it's doing something. But if it's a sharp pain, or if you're getting a lot of pain at that bend in your ankle, maybe you're pulling too hard, or maybe something is going on that you probably need checked by your doctor or your therapist. So if the pain feels like it's sharp, or once you stop it continues to linger, that's not what you want. If it hurts a little bit while you're doing it, but it's more like a stretchy kind of hurt, that's okay, that's normal. And then as long as it stops as soon as you stop the stretch. And then we'll get one more over here, kind of right at the ball of that foot there. And then get that pull. Trying to keep that knee straight if you can, because then that helps get that calf. Once you start bending your knee, then that starts stretching your soleus muscle versus your calf, even though they're both equally important to stretch. But getting that nice stretch in there. Doing some nice deep breathing really helps relax muscles. As you breathe out, a lot of times you can pull just a little bit more, and that'll give you a nice extra stretch in there. So the next one is going to be an anterior tibialis stretch, which is that front muscle here that we were talking about earlier. You can do this standing, you can do this lying on your tummy and pushing up, but we're just going to do it sitting. What I want you to do is try and get the outside of your foot flat on the floor. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of pushing my foot straight down where I feel that stretch through that anterior tibialis muscle right there. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure through it, but I'm going kind of down at an angle. See how I almost want my foot to go this way, not just straight down, but where it's turning inward. And that's what's going to hit that anterior tibialis muscle right there. And so again, you want it to be a comfortable stretch, but not so painful that you can't hold it here like that. So then just kind of switching over to the other side. Again, that foot's up like this, toes go down on the floor, rolling downwards and into the floor, getting that nice stretch through there. So this is similar to if you've seen some of my other videos where I'm kind of on my knees and I have my feet and then I'm pushing up a little bit. But this is just maybe if you have some knee issues, when I do it sitting like this, then that just gets that stretch right there and I'm not putting any pressure on my knees or on my hip area. So this is just kind of a modified version, but I'm still getting a really nice stretch through that anterior tibialis muscle right there. Sometimes when that anterior tibialis is irritated, you might hear people talk about shin splints or anterior shin splints. That would be that muscle that is usually affected in that area. So these would be a good stretch for that as well. But that muscle comes all the way down. And again, since we talked about it bringing up that foot, that really helps with that foot and ankle to make sure everything's loose and nice and stretched out. Again, that nice deep diaphragmatic breathing really helps when you're doing your stretches. And then just sliding again, making sure, again, the toenail part of your toes are on the floor. So you're not, stretching out the toes. You're relaxing them down and kind of rolling that foot so the outside portion is towards the floor and getting that stretch right through there. And sometimes when you push it in that position, if your ankles are a little weak, you might get a little pop in your ankle. And again, as long as it's not painful, it's just adjusting everything. So next we're going to go into the posterior tibialis. And so that one's just going to be putting your foot the other way. So now that one was going inwards this way, now this one's going out. So that inside of your foot is going towards the floor and you're kind of pushing down that way. This one you might not feel quite as much, but that posterior tibialis is on the inside lower part of your foot. So like posterior shin splints that people talk about, now this is getting that other side. And again, this all goes into with the foot and the ankle, and if that's not working properly, sometimes these tendons and muscles get irritated. Sometimes if you're pushing really hard with this one, it might feel like your foot is going to cramp. So if you want to try it, sometimes I say if you haven't tried it before, try it with your shoes on. Sometimes that helps with that crampy kind of feeling. And then if it feels okay, then you can take your shoes off because then you might get a little bit better stretch. But see, so now the big toe is on the floor and I'm pushing that inner part of my foot down towards the floor. And that's getting, I'll show you here, that inside part or that posterior tibialis area. You can stretch this one a couple different ways too. I have some where I'm standing up kind of in a runner stretch position. So if you're not quite feeling it with this, make sure and check out some of my other videos because I've got different stretches for all of these. So again, what might not work for you might work for someone else and vice versa. And this one always feels slightly more uncomfortable to me than the other one. Gotta fix everything up here. So getting that nice stretch on the inside there. And again, doing that nice deep breathing to really help it out and get that extra stretch. And again, your foot and ankle might not be quite as flexible as mine, so you might not be able to get it all the way over. You might be up here, but still, if you're a little bit higher, if you're pushing that inwards way, you should still feel that stretch a little bit. But if you can get it over a little bit more, again, without feeling like your foot's going to cramp or something being very uncomfortable, that's going to be the best stretch for you there, where you're kind of almost pushing everything inwards to get that stretch. So then the next one is just going to be working the ankles, but we're going to start off the sitting because that makes it a little bit easier, and then we'll progress to standing up. But with the sitting, just having your feet about hip width apart, and all you're going to do is just like it sounds, a heel toe raise alternating back and forth. So I'm lifting up my heels, coming down, lifting up my toes, and just alternating back and forth with that. So sometimes, again, if you don't have a lot of motion in your ankles, pulling up the toes can be hard or uncomfortable. So just bring them up as high as you comfortably can. They might not go as high as mine. That's okay. You just kind of go at your own pace again and take your time and see how much you can do. You know, if they only come up to here, that's okay. Just keep on working on it as you go and see if you can get it going a little bit better each time you do it. Again, and again, each time you go, try and get it higher and higher. So you're really going up on those toes, lifting those heels up, bringing them down, bringing up those toes as high as you can without them trying to cramp on you, and then coming back down, back and forth. So just really working those. And again, one of those things, if you feel like they're cramping, maybe sometimes trying with your shoes on first, because that kind of helps keep it a little bit more in a stable position, and then progress to trying without your shoes on. So the next ones are going to be standing up. So now this time, we're just going to do a heel raise in standing. So ideally, if you haven't done these before, make sure you're holding on to something. You don't want to have it where you're trying to catch your balance. So just coming up on your heels or coming up on your toes, lifting your heels, and then nice and slow back down. So feet about shoulder width apart, and then nice and slow coming back. Now, if you feel like you're doing this and then just dropping right back down, definitely hold on to something, because again, you want this to be a nice, slow, controlled motion. This is working those calf muscles, but you want to really try and control it, especially coming back down. Usually people can do okay coming up, but the coming down, they just want to plop back down. But that's equally as important. That's that eccentric movement, that controlling movement. And that's probably more important than the coming up for the foot and the ankle. So nice and slow coming up, nice and slow coming back down. If you don't feel like you can comfortably do that, then make sure, again, you're holding on to something the first couple times you're doing it, and then maybe just holding on with a finger or two while you're doing it, and then you can try it without it. But really just, you know, that one was a little bit faster, but even if it's a little bit faster, just making sure you're controlling that movement as much as you can. So the next one is just going to be a mini squat. Mini squats are the same technique as a full squat. We're just not going to go down as far. And yes, that does work your feet and your ankles because those really have to be strong to help stabilize you while you're going into that squat. They have to have the flexibility. It helps with the flexibility while you're going into the squat. Feet about shoulder width apart. Stick that booty back. The knees just bend a little bit. The hips bend a little bit. And you're coming back up. You're just going maybe 20 to 30 degrees, not going really far, but making sure you're shifting equal weight on both sides. Feet are flat, weight on each side, really making sure those muscles in the foot and the ankle are keeping you stable while you're doing that squat. If you feel like that's too much, just unlock them a little bit and come back up. You don't even have to go to the 20 to 30%, 30 degree angle, but then as you go, you'll be able to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. But making sure, just like with a regular squat, you're not going in front of your toes like this. You're really sticking the booty back, and then the chest coming forward a little bit to equal out your weight. Getting that little bend in there, and then coming back up. Making sure that it's comfortable. Again, if you need to hold on to a chair or something the first couple times you do this, that's fine. Make sure that you're behind something where you can sit down. So if you feel like you're like, uh-oh, I'm off balance, I can just go ahead and sit back down, that you can. So there you have it. Those are my general stretches and exercises for the ankle and foot. That's my 8th video in my 10-day whole body wellness challenge. If you've missed some of the others, make sure and click on the playlist up there. And if you're interested in finding out more about the challenge, I know, click in the description below. And remember, be safe, have fun, and I hope you feel better soon.